Welcome, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike. I am your host, and we are here to talk about the breaking news that has come down out of Dallas and Green Bay. That is right, the big trade that has happened this afternoon about 2 hours ago. But before we get into it, I want to ask everybody to please head over to all of the Huddle Hub's social medias right now. If you're watching on Twitch, the Huddle Hub Podcast, please head over to the TikTok, the YouTube, and the X at the Huddle Hub Pod and hit that follow button. If you're on YouTube, you got to hit the subscribe button in order to follow. You don't have to pay anything. That's just how you follow on YouTube, hitting that subscribe button. So please head over to all the social medias right now, hit that follow button, YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and please help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going into the 2025 season and beyond. That's right. College football kicked off last week. We know that. And a lot of the bigger games are happening this week. We got Texas and Ohio State in a very big season opening matchup that's happening this Saturday. Kickoff is at noontime. A couple games happening today. Boise State's playing a couple scores. I don't have any of the scores up right now. I probably should do that. I should probably have the scores up as we're talking here, but I don't. But yeah, college football is definitely underway. Very excited about that. And I'm getting some of the scores up here for you guys. Boise State right now, you losing to USF 17-7 late into the third quarter. Rutgers is defeating Ohio 31-7, just the start of the third quarter there. And North Carolina State is defeating ECU 17-0. With 7 minutes left in the first half. Those are just some of the scores coming out of college football. UCF and JVST are in a delay right now, probably because of weather. It is Florida does tend to have pop-up thunderstorms and all that stuff. So, you know, a couple what's up, Cam? Thank you for coming in. This pop-up live right now here on the Huddle Hub Podcast. We are going to be talking about the big trade that came out of the NFL about 2 hours ago, but going over some of the scores happening right now in college football, because the full top 25 is in play this week. And it is a huge week for college football. So, but yeah, Boise State right now, the game that I'm focused on, because as I mentioned on the Huddle Hub Podcast on Sunday, me and John are doing a pick challenge for college football this year. And he picked Texas Tech as his first team. I picked Boise State as my first team off of the top 25. So we're picking one team a week off the top 25. If we win or lose, whoever ends up with the best win-lose record at the end of the year wins the first pick challenge for the college football. So, but let's get into it. Breaking news coming out of Dallas. That is right. Defensive end Micah Parsons has been traded to the Green Bay Packers. And then about a few moments later, he had signed a 4-year deal worth $188 million, $136 million guaranteed. And yeah, that deal coming up literally moments after he was traded to the Packers. And there was a lot of talk. I mean, this morning you threw on the NFL Network on the radio. I always throw on the NFL Network at 7:30 a.m. when I get to work, and they talked about Dallas was opening up the phone lines today. They said that they were going to be opening up the phone lines and going to be taking offers for a trade for Micah Parsons, and a lot of analysis, a lot of your professional analysis guys and girls on TV were pretty much, trying to say hey, this is probably a bluff. Maybe this is just a way to get the deal done. Just say that we're opening up the phone lines, and then later on today, the deal gets done. I know there was a interview happening with Michael Irvin, former wide receiver, a Hall of Fame wide receiver from the Dallas Cowboys. He was doing an interview when the deal pretty much happened. So, and he was saying that this could have been a bluff. This is just the way to kind of get the deal done. And then moments later, the trade happened. So Micah Parsons traded out to Green Bay. And then moments later, he signs a $188 million deal, $136 million guaranteed. He is now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. This is his first big contract coming off of the rookie deal. As we know, Micah Parsons was drafted about 3 years ago. And it's just crazy to think how big these deals are nowadays. And we talk about it all the time of you know, the salary cap is going up every year. I know the salary cap went up this year, and it kind of helps some teams kind of, get out of cap penalty. There's some teams that are going to be going into next year under some cap penalty that'll be able to work out getting out of cap penalty next year. A lot of teams that are deep into the hole, like the Saints. The Saints are kind of in that hole right now as far as cap space. They're going to pretty much break even come next year when the cap goes up again. So, and the cap goes up every year. And as the cap goes up, these teams, these players are going to be able to get paid more. So we've had at least 6 different players get deals to where they became the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Max Crosby a couple months ago got his deal, became the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So you're going to start seeing big deals like this to where records are going to be broken. And Micah Parsons being the most recent player to get the deal. I mean, he got drafted in the first round, 12th overall. Sorry. He got drafted in the first round, 12th overall to Dallas back in 2021. So this is his first big deal off of his rookie contract. And he was looking for that big deal. And we heard all the Jerry Jones interviews of he's injury prone. He wasn't on the field as much last year. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's nuts. It's crazy. I mean, these deals are getting astronomically crazy. And some people would say oh, these guys are well overpaid and all this stuff. And you got to think of the commitment that these guys put in. For example, when you commit to something and you commit your life to it, that's your number one focus. And a lot of these guys and girls that play sports and are in the professional level, the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, the WNBA, tennis players, golf players, they commit their whole lives to playing their sport. So it's not like they go out and say, hey, I'm going to go and try and become a general manager at a fast food place while trying to play football. No, they don't go and do that. They commit every moment of their life to football or whatever sport they're playing. So when it comes the time for them to get the contract, that big deal, they're going to look for it. And they want to get paid what they know or think they're worth. Trey Hendrickson last week, he signs his deal, or earlier this week, gets his deal done. He wasn't going to play on his old contract, got a $14 million raise for 1 year. But now here's the kicker, is the Bengals next year are going to have to decide, do we long-term Trey Hendrickson or do we let him walk? Because if I'm correct on this, Trey Hendrickson, he's only on a 1-year contract with the Bengals. If I'm correct on that, yeah. 1 year. So come next year, the Bengals are going to be in that same boat again on, do we pay him or do we let this guy walk this time? Or do you spend the tag on him? That's going to be the question. And Dallas, we know that with certain players, they have a hard time committing to. I mean, Dak Prescott, they didn't have a hard time committing to. It's just they didn't get his deal done until two days before the season started, or the day before the season started when he got his deal. But for some reason, Jerry Jones was just with Micah Parsons was just like, the word came down, oh, we had a deal done, me and Micah talked. But the problem is you got to involve the agents. Because that's what they're there for, to represent the player. And some people may think, oh, the agents don't really matter. They do matter, because they got to get paid too. And that's somewhat part of the deal, is for them to get paid for doing their job. So you realistically think, say Micah, he gets $188 million, 136 guaranteed, and maybe 4 of that might go to his agent, a percentage, or his agent gets a certain percentage separate off of that deal, not from that deal. Like I always say, I study this game every day, but I don't know everything, and I will never claim to know everything. So I'm just assuming that that's how it works with the agents. Okay? But Micah was growing frustrated. I mean, going into the Atlanta preseason game last week, he's walking into the stadium. I showed you guys the video on Sunday. If you want to go back and watch the replay of Sunday's episode, I showed a video of Micah walking into the Atlanta Falcons preseason game. A fan was taking a video and said, "Hey, Micah, come to Atlanta." And he literally went like this. "Call me. Have them call me." So the writing was on the wall. Micah kind of knew, hey, I'm not here anymore. This ain't going to be, this isn't where I'm going to be. And then when Dallas opened up the phone lines this morning, it was, that was it. You kind of had that feeling that this was going to happen today because we are a week away from kickoff. Literally next Thursday, 7 days from now, this moment, the Eagles and Cowboys kick off on Thursday night. So something had to be taken care of. This almost goes like a few years back when Carson Wentz was drafted in Philadelphia a week before the season started. Sam Bradford traded. Carson Wentz became the starter a week before the season started. So this is somewhat similar of that. But teams want to get things taken care of now so they can get their guys in the building, whether it's a trade, whether it's, a pickup off of free agency, whether waiver claims happen. They want to get the deal done. They want to get things taken care of. So it's the writing was all on the wall that Micah was basically 1 foot out the door in Dallas. It was just all about who was going to take on the contract that he was looking for and who was going to give up the capital to the Cowboys for him. And Green Bay pulled out the stops. They said, hey, we'll send you defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks for Micah Parsons. And Dallas was looking for those draft picks. They even mentioned, we won't take anything less than 2 first-rounders. So this was a very, very expensive trade on the part of Green Bay. But just think of the fact that if Micah Parsons can stay healthy and stay on the field for Green Bay, because, again, he had some trouble last year in Dallas, and I believe a little bit the year before as well, had some trouble staying on the field. If he can stay on the field in Green Bay, man, that Green Bay defense, it might be something. I just think Green Bay should have thought more on sending Kenny Clark because that's a huge give to the Dallas Cowboys. Because Kenny Clark is no pushover defensive tackle. So it's pretty much a see how things pan out now. See if Micah can stay on the field and stay healthy. Because that was one of Jerry Jones's main concerns with doing this deal. With doing a deal with Micah. Is he going to stay healthy? So I'm going to do something really quick for content purposes, guys. So give me 1 second. So So we got some breaking news coming out of Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys have traded defensive end Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Then moments later, Micah Parsons ends up signing a 4-year deal worth $188 million, $136 million guaranteed. And the Cowboys get in return defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks. This happening around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this afternoon. So crazy deal coming out of Dallas. Crazy deal coming out of Green Bay. I did that. I fucked that up. You want to create the content, and it's not working. We're going to move on. I'm going to do this one more time. Breaking news coming out of Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys have traded defensive end Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And then moments later, Micah Parsons ends up signing a 4-year deal worth $188 million, $136 million guaranteed. This deal makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. I'm going to try that one more time. Breaking news coming out of Dallas. God damn it. Breaking news coming out of Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys have traded defensive end Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. And moments later, Micah Parsons signs a 4-year deal worth $188 million, $136 million guaranteed. And the Cowboys get in return defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks. So again, we're going to have to see if Micah Parsons can end up staying healthy for the Green Bay Packers and how much he'd help the Packers defense. This is a big deal. Big news. Adam Thielen, wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen ends up getting traded to the Minnesota Vikings. A big trade happening there yesterday. I was going to save some of this news for Sunday show, but the Carolina Panthers and the Minnesota Vikings have made a trade. The Carolina Panthers send wide receiver Adam Thielen back to Minnesota, and in return, the Panthers receive a 2026 5th-round draft pick and a 2027 4th-round draft pick. Now, this is a big pickup for the Minnesota Vikings because their wide receiver position, in a sense, has been hurting a little bit during camp. It has. And they've been looking for a veteran wide receiver to come in and help because Justin Jefferson's not going to be able to carry that whole load as a wide receiver. He's not. And does he have the talent to do so? He does. But Adam Thielen coming into Minnesota, returning to Minnesota after leaving for a couple years, it seems like he's going to spend the rest of the twilight of his career in Minnesota. So we'll have to see. Guys, I got one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. A short little pop-up live to talk about the Micah Parsons deal. But we got one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. I was going to save this bit of news for Sunday as well, but I figured we'll break it since it was broken yesterday. And I meant to do a pop-up live yesterday about this, but I didn't. So we're going to take about a 15 to 20 second break as I switch things up here, and we will talk about the next bit of news. Please make sure you head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias right now. So please make sure you're heading over to all the social medias for the Huddle Hub Podcast right now over on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. That's how you follow on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything. You hear the word subscribe, you're thinking, do I have to pay anything? Nope, you don't. That's just the way to follow, so that way you can chat in the chat room while you're watching on the YouTube. On TikTok and X, I do post updates, and if I'm going live and stuff on the X. So, for example, I did announce that I was going live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight over on the X. You would be the first to know about that announcement if you go follow at the Huddle Hub Pod over on X. And on TikTok, I do post videos over on the TikTok page as well. And please make sure you're hitting that follow button on the Twitch at the Huddle Hub Podcast, as we are, and all the links below, all the links are in the bio below on the Twitch channel. So all you have to do is click on the link and it'll take you right to the social medias. So there's the TikTok, there's the X, there's the YouTube right there on the bottom of the Twitch profile. You click on that, it'll take you right to the social media page you desire to go follow. If you decide to follow all of them, that'd be great. It would be definitely appreciated as we build the Huddle Hub Podcast, as we build the Huddle Hub Podcast channel going into the 2025 season and beyond. So one last bit of news, guys. The New Orleans Saints are the last team to name their starting quarterback. Okay, every team has named their starting quarterback already. Some teams, we already knew who the starting quarterback was. You know, you go out to Philadelphia, you knew Jalen Hurts, you know Jaden Daniels out in Washington, Dak Prescott in Dallas, and Russell Wilson was announced as the starting quarterback in New York the moment he signed there. Okay. And then other teams like the Bengals, the Bills, the Chiefs, and so many other teams, we already knew who their starting quarterback was. But the Saints were one of those teams that needed to name a starting quarterback. Why? Because they didn't have a quarterback this year. Well, they had quarterbacks, but they didn't have a starting quarterback named for the season. Well, they had announced yesterday, the New Orleans Saints have announced that quarterback Spencer Rattler will be the starting quarterback in week 1 for the season opener. So quarterback Spencer Rattler will start. My thoughts on this, and I'll say this right now. The Saints have gone out and they drafted Tyler Shough, and a lot of people thought Tyler Shough was going to be the starting quarterback because of what he was doing in camp. Tyler Shough was showing a lot of like starting elements in camp. He had some stuff to work on, obviously, because he's a rookie quarterback. But when you look at the Saints roster and you look at their quarterback room, I mean, their quarterback room is fairly young. Okay. First off, they got Spencer Rattler, who was drafted back. Excuse me. Spencer Rattler, who was drafted back in 2024, so a year ago. Spencer Rattler was drafted in the 5th round, 150th overall. And then they got Tyler Shough, who was just drafted this year. He was drafted in the 2nd round, 40th overall. So you're thinking, okay, they spent a 2nd round pick on Tyler Shough. Why is he not starting? Well, because Spencer Rattler has somewhat of, you know, he has a little more advancement being in the league. Okay. Even though he's only been there a year, he started a couple games last year. He did. And when you look at Spencer Rattler's stats, I mean, 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So I believe he only started 1 game. So what I'm looking at right now is his statistics. So Spencer Rattler's statistics is actually 7 games. He played in 7 games and has 130 completions out of 228 attempts. He has 1,317 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions from last year. Okay, so not too bad of statistics for a rookie quarterback coming in and having to take over a team that really had no... I mean, beginning of the year, some promise. The first 2 games after they played Philly, that was it. They went downhill. Finished, I believe, 5-12. So it was a rough year for New Orleans, and I don't expect them to do much of anything this year. I don't. I could see New Orleans going 5-12 again. I could, maybe worse. But Tyler Shough being the 2nd round pick, Spencer Rattler going 5th round pick. It's like, why would Tyler Shough, if you spend a 2nd round pick on a quarterback, nowadays you're thinking 1st or 2nd round, you're a starter, basically. You're going to become a starter. And I think that's the focus out in New Orleans, is for Tyler Shough to become the starter eventually. Now, I was talking to John about this the other day, and I said, I could see I think Spencer Rattler has it because of the seniority of being there for 2024, but Tyler Shough will probably be the starter by week 7. If the Saints are in a deep enough hole to where they have no playoff promises, which I don't see, then I could see Tyler Shough becoming the starter. I could. So, again, Spencer Rattler was announced as the starting quarterback for week 1 for the New Orleans Saints. So there it is. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get out of here. This is the end of the Pop-Up Live. Again, Micah Parsons getting traded out to Green Bay. Adam Thielen traded back to Minnesota after leaving for a couple years, and Spencer Rattler has become the starting quarterback out in New Orleans. So I think this is going to be the last Pop-Up Live of the week. I'm going to try and save everything. Unless some big news comes out of tomorrow or Saturday, I'm going to try and save everything for Sunday's show. Sunday's show is a pretty big one. Going to be doing my full-on predictions. I'm going to be predicting how every team is going to do this season, how I think every team is going to do this season. And then we're going to predict the playoffs as well, how I think the playoffs are going to go, and ultimately who's going to be raising the Lombardi Trophy at Super Bowl 60. Okay? So, big show coming up this Sunday. Also going to cover all the news. Again, I'm going to try, unless we get big news like this Micah Parsons deal, I think this is going to be the last Pop-Up Live of the week. I'll try and save all the other news for Sunday. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the start of the live, so come join me as we make our predictions and get ready for the kickoff of the 2025 NFL season. We're also going to be talking college football because college football officially has kicked off last week, but the top 25 kicked off tonight with Boise State and UCF. And a little bit of an update on that game. Try and get the update for you guys really quick. So South Florida at the beginning of the fourth quarter is defeating Boise State 24-7. Trying to get some of the other scores here. See if any scores went final or see if there's any other scores that I can announce. There's not. I did have other scores up. I don't know where they went. I honestly do not know where all the other scores went, but that's one of the scores Boise State getting beat right now, 24-7. Guys, if you want to follow me on social media, Metal Mike 714 is where you can find me on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. So please go check that out right now if you want to. My personal profiles, Metal Mike 714. That's how you find me. Super easy. And please head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast's social medias over on TikTok, YouTube, and X at the Huddle Hub Pod. And if you're not watching on Twitch and you're watching on the YouTube, then the Huddle Hub Podcast over on Twitch. All the links to the social medias are below in the profile of the Twitch channel. You just have to click on them and go over and hit that follow button on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going in to the 2025 season and beyond. I want to thank you guys again for stopping by. If no other big news pops up between now and Sunday, then I will see you guys Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, the Huddle Hub Podcast, Twitch, and YouTube channel at the Huddle Hub Pod. You guys have a great rest of your week. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. See you guys next time.